4 years ago, I was in a mastermind of 100 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs where I broke down the exact marketing campaign to help me launch a new business and really take it from 0 to $1 million a month in just 8 months. And then after that, it produced about $20 million a year for the next 3 or 4 years, all off the back of the marketing campaign that I'm gonna break down in this video. So we're gonna cut to that presentation now. Enjoy.
So again, B2B offers only, for the most part, agencies, done for you coaching hybrids, SaaS. I would also say if you have a solution-aware offer, kind of like a B to solopreneur type of offer. So like I know, Daniel, we talked about doing this with you, but coaches, if you teach coaches how to be coaches, consultants, real estate agents, insurance agents, financial advisors, any sort of like B to solopreneur, this will work really good as well. And I do want to say, like, he didn't teach me this, but I got the whole inspiration of this entire funnel from watching, you guys know Hyros, right? So Alex Becker's Hyros funnel, I know that funnel just crushes. So I tried to model that. It took me, like what you're going to learn too, this took me like 5 or 6 VSLs to get down. And once we cracked it, it's just absolutely decimated for us. But I did get the original inspiration for him. So you're going to see it's kind of, there's some similarities there. So I just wanted to give him credit. And then also a book everybody should read is Great Leads by Mark Ford and I think John Ford. Who's read Great Leads? I say to read it like, I swear once a week. But in Great Leads, they talk about the 7 ways to start a sales message. What we're going to talk about is essentially what's called an offer lead, which is really, really key. A lot of people just aren't doing this in their marketing at all. So the first step is a pattern interrupt. We're going to cover pattern interrupts tomorrow because I don't use it in this video here. So I go right to the big promise. But if you guys have seen, like who's seen our RCA VSL, the one with the no card? That's obviously a pattern interrupt. So we're going to go all into that tomorrow. First presentation tomorrow, go into how it works, different pattern interrupts you can use, etc. So the first step is going to be what we call the quick hook. So I'm going to play it. I think it's easiest, like the same way like I learned sales. I learned VSLs by having people like this, like play me their VSL or review my VSL and then give me coaching. Like the same way it's like a call analysis breakdown for sales. I did the same thing. That's how I got good at like copy and VSLs and stuff. So that's what we're going to do here. And hopefully, did you guys test this audio? Yeah, so you guys can hear that, right? A little soft. Where's the, yeah.
Well, they actually play a guitar for those just project.
Decoration. Okay, so that was it. Did you guys all hear that? So it's basically, if you need help building out your sales team, then here's what you need to know. That's not like the most masterful piece of copying ever, okay? I understand. But basically, the very first thing we want to do, especially with B2B, so a whole theme in this B2B funnel is the issue is like getting the actual right person on the phone, okay? So for us, like the 6 iterations, the main thing that was making all those iterations not work is, I don't know what it was. I mean, and Mitchell can tell you, like, we would only get insurance agents every time. $50 apps, only insurance. I mean, to the point where I was like, Mitchell, like, should we just launch an offer to insurance agents? Because like these guys are like trying to buy, like begging to buy, $50 appointments. So as you'll see, like, and we'll go over this with more of the tech, a lot of times, I mean, I literally have copy lather all over the page. Like, if you're an insurance agent, leave this page now. And so any start of a sales message, at least after the pattern interrupt and the quick hook, we want to either say if you're experiencing X, Y, and Z problem, if you're this person, so if you're this ideal avatar, if you want desire, okay? So all we're really doing here is we're calling out to the audience. And there's a few ways you can do this. You can call it who they are. So you could say, like, let's say you guys go after realtors. You could say realtors, duh. But even more powerful than that is you can call out their current circumstances, right? So like, this is one of the ones Alex says, but if iOS has decimated your ad tracking, right? So he's calling out the circumstance, but by the nature of you having that circumstance, he knows you're either a media buyer, a business owner, and you're running ads. And that's also more specific. Does that make sense? So it's better. So for instance, you could also, like Ben does coaching on scaling fulfillment teams. So it's like, if your fulfillment is breaking down in spite of your scale, then listen up, right? So, I mean, that might not be the best hook, but still, it's like by the nature of calling out fulfillment problems, instead of saying, hey, 7-figure business owners, he's calling out the circumstance. And by the nature of calling out the circumstance, he's getting 7-figure business owners. So that's way more powerful than actually saying the thing, and it's unique. So other people can't say it. You call it the problem. So like if your sales team's underperforming, the desires, if you want to increase profit from ads. Okay. So the next step is going to be the big promise.
Close it out. We still free recruit. We can see you.
Okay. So we're going to talk about this, but you can do either. I would not do more than 3, but honestly, I think the most powerful thing is if you can just have a single benefit. So in examples like these, 1 is always going to be better than multiple. Okay. But I do 3. That's what I did. So we'll see it.
1, you source in place proven players as others. So we about 3 boundaries.
Okay, so what you're going to see I'm doing here, and this is kind of the framework I want you guys to use, is basically I'm going to state the thing and then give context on the thing. And we're going to talk about the framework I use to do that in a second.
We'll apply our company.
Here, I'm going to speed this up because it's a little boring.
You be placed. Nice. We send it all out in snums to taking 30 to 20 odds of that. Number 2, you only read the shiny those wonders. So statistically, it's about 34 by me. The rank server, we're out 50 on all disclosure. You get that down to playing this episode half the time. That's statistically what we found on the time that we found there. And then the third thing, we synthesize this is you're all on the pattern issues that team not left down and for or just weird because I'm in the side. I'm selling. I mean, it's an instant by 7 people. Whereas the year of all of it, you didn't focus on being a business owner, not more by sales manager. And those 2.
Okay, so that was the big promise, right? 5 to 20 seconds. I probably, I obviously went a little bit longer than that. If I had to redo this, I would try to test just state, and then give the guarantee just to give it a little bit faster. But and that's another thing that throughout these 6 iterations, the first one was 20 minutes. The next one was 15. And so it's really a lot harder to say what you need to say in fewest words possible than to say, a bunch of stuff. So I would do, if you guys, and then another way to, a good way to find out, because the biggest thing to make this work is those 3 key benefits. Because they're either they're gonna watch that and they're gonna say, I want to do this or I don't want to do this. Okay. So the big thing you can do to be able to dial those in and test those is your headlines with your ads and the highest CTRs. That's something I wish I would have done in the beginning, but instead I did 6 VSLs. So that's what I would do. I would keep them short. And then what we want to do, and this is what I was mentioning earlier, we want to state it and then we want to expand on it based on the USP. So you state the benefit and then you do a second step called grasping the benefit. And so if you guys have read How to Write a Great Advertisement by Victor Schwab, he talks about grasping the benefit. Another guy who talks about this you guys should study is Paris Lampropoulos. He's one of the best copywriters of all time. He talks about the importance of grasp. It's not enough to just state the benefit, but you got to explain the benefit of that benefit. Okay, and that's what I'm doing here. And I kind of said USP. It's probably not real the definition of the USP here, but basically I state the benefit, and then what I'm doing is I'm stating why our product or service or the way we're doing things is more effective than all other options they have out there. So this is the exercise I want you guys to go through is think of, you have Hell Island and you have Heaven Island, okay? So the original copy, let's say the ad copy, gets them to decide they want to get off Hell Island and go to Heaven Island. Now, there's multiple different bridges from them to get to Hell Island to Heaven Island, okay? There's bridges that consist of them, and I even put it here for you guys. There's direct competitors. They could do it themselves, or there's indirect competitors. So for instance, for me, we're often appointment setters or closers. That's kind of our lead angle. So there's, 2 or 3 other people who do that. You could try to recruit closers on your own. And there's indirect competitors. This isn't as much for me, but for instance, Travis Sega, if you guys know him, he sells an offer called the phoneless selling system, right? So that's not a direct competitor to me, but it achieves the same result through a different means. So you have Hell Island, Heaven Island, and you have all these different bridges. And what we want to do is we want to burn all of the bridges except for ours from Hell Island to Heaven Island. And then we want to fortify our bridge. Does that make, that's how I visually think about it here. So what I'm doing after I state the benefit is I'm giving context on the benefit of why that benefit's important and why we're the unique provider. We're the only person who can do that, the advantage through us. Now, when you have a done, this is for services, guys, this makes it easy. Because when you have a done for you offer, for us, the first one I'm saying is we will source all the people for you. So, the average person, they might be able to drum up through Facebook groups, 8 to 10 interviews. But for us, Savannah's team last month did 800 interviews. So it's well, who do you think is going to be better at getting you a closer? Because we have volume. And then the second thing is like ramp time I talk about. So it's like, I'm like the average closer takes X amount of time to ramp up. But with us, we license you our proprietary process that reduces it by half the time. So you see how I'm like playing off like a us versus them frame. And so it's kind of like us versus them, new versus old, that type of thing. A little bit of what you're doing here. So again, don't mull on here. Be quick and to the point. Does anybody have questions on what we covered so far?
What was the second book you mentioned?
Victor Schwab, yeah. Great Leads is good. And then if Paris Lampropoulos has any stuff, like if you guys know Max Ham, who's the copy coach, he turned me on to Paris Lampropoulos. And like that was when I was a sales guy. And that his stuff is so good. So yeah. Any other questions? You comment below. You comment 2-step below. And then Jared from our team will reach out to you about the 9-figure boardroom. Yeah. No, I'll just give it to you guys. I'll post it in the group after this. And then I'll, all of this, I have like, you can see like here, I already recorded the trainings for the course for this too. So all of this will go in the course. I would still take notes because it's pretty heavy, but all this stuff will be in there. Let's do one more if anybody has one. Okay. So the next one's big guarantee. It's pretty simple, guys. Like, honestly, when you see this, you're probably like, oh, it's like pretty easy. The biggest thing is just getting the offer right. And that's why it's called an offer lead, right? So it took me 6 of these tries to finally get the offer. And really for us, like what made this work with ads is when we shifted the message more towards appointment setters, which you'll see as the ads all about appointment setters opposed to closers because it opened it up to a larger TAM. So that was part of it as well.
These reasons, and we lease you a setter player and one block and very indisputable. Louis.
Okay, so that's a guarantee. So pretty easy. Template for this is you achieve X result or something happens, right? There's a consequence. Here's my advice. Like I said you don't pay. That's the easy one, right? But I would try to be as original as you can here, especially because like there is a growing trend of stuff like this, if you guys have noticed, especially since Alex Hormozi released his book. There's all these like, I'll just do everything for you, and then if it doesn't work, I'll pay you $10,000. Like there's these crazy offers that are going on. So I think for your guarantee, if you can create something unique, it's going to, and that's kind of what I'm thinking about down the road, is like, how can I make our guarantee a little bit more unique as opposed to you don't pay? Because I'm telling you guys in a year from now, especially because I'm teaching this, offers are really big right now. You're going to see everybody with these don't pay things. So I'll give you an example. Do you guys know who Jason Flagellant is? So Spencer turned me on to Jason a couple months ago. And Jason's guarantee, so he had this webinar that was for the Amazon or Amazing Selling Machine or whatever, crushed it back, it was a couple of years ago. His guarantee for that was if like, I think you do X, Y, and Z and it doesn't work, we'll buy your Amazon business from you. You see how that's like so much better than like, you don't pay. Like that's super good. So, we pay you money, just get creative. Now, the next thing is going to be the proof and the track record.
I'm okay. Now, that's all. We don't need to incarnate the your business. So both, the same like either for you set, but he'd see rest all so all under the fall, all in the cells, so he'd say your fall. We were meant to progress. And the thing I knew was see Charles, your business and you're being involved for we all day, you're still to know.
Okay, so by the way, that was just, I had to throw that in there because the big thing with us is like we're the only sort of like done for you weird hybrid in our industry. So like everybody assumes we're like just pure agency, like let me just outsource my entire problems to you. So I had to throw that in there.
It's a crazy result driven also this isn't.
Yeah, so a good thing with your copy guys is the word now, right? So that always, like you kind of go on a little bit of a tangent, now brings it back to the present moment. So if you look at like a guy you guys should also really study is John Benson. We'll talk about him tomorrow. Like that guy, probably number one copy mentor for me. He does this stuff all the time. It's so good. So now, why can I make such a crazy offer results driven promise like this? It's simple. Look at our track record.
I'm often the call. Not only that, at the same time, we are following sales team everybody that's actually done well as anti-fly self license. Create the item massive. You did it to our even was they deem so. The most stunning one is Dollar ice. Keep it.
Okay, so that's basically the track record. Now, a lot of you guys are going to watch that and be like, well, I haven't worked with Tony Robbins. Here's what I would do instead. So, like, if you're weight loss and you've helped, like, Matt Damon and all these people who are super famous, then do that, obviously. That works, okay? Now, this will still work if, like, you haven't worked with, like, famous clients or whatever. What I would do instead is take, like, your top case studies that are across, like, 3 or 4 different pain points, and I'd say, it's the same format. So you say, now, why can I make such an offer-driven promise like this? It's simple. Look at our track record. We helped, Joe get from A to B in this time frame. Deborah get from A to B in this time frame. And this person get from A to B in this time frame. And each of those different ones, you want to do a different pain point that you're solving. So for us, if I did it that format, what I would do is I'd have one that was driven about setters. I'd have one that was driven about closers. I'd have one that, like, somebody removed themselves from their sales management and became the business owner and the CEO, not the glorified sales manager. And I have another that was about maybe, like, somebody's closing rate was 10%. They went from 30% with their team, and they got this result in this time frame. So you see, I'm hitting on all of the different points right there. So that's what I would do in this part. But, if you've worked with, Tony Robbins and all these people, you just use that because it works. So then we're going to CTA. This is really key because most people are just going to see that. It's like, big promise. Okay, he's worked with everybody. Schedule call. Like, that's what we want, right? And in B2B, a lot of the heavy lifting, it's like, just get the call, because a lot of the heavy lifting is going to be done there.
That's all you need to hear about today. I was working while we in that's fantastic of all it was follow up on and with the hatters. I mean, something to the start. Nothing. Yeah. So we should work here in time we go. Either if you got all dating and house or salt.
Okay. So basically, soft CTA, I'm kind of like, the anytime with CTAs, you kind of want to play the indifferent card. You guys have probably heard, I don't know if it was Jay Abraham who said this, but it's some old school guy. It's like, either way, I'm eating steak tonight. That's the whole vibe I want to get there. Now, this part, what we're going to get into the mechanism, okay? And so this part's pretty cool. And so what I'm going to say here is if you want to know why this works, it's simple. And then you just give 2 reasons, 1 reason. Again, similar to your big promise, it's better if it's just 1 reason. Like, if you can just explain 1 big promise you're going to help with, and then 1 big reason why your method of doing things, your mechanism to success is unique, different, superior, and more effective than everybody else, then that's what I would do. In my case, I just kind of like couldn't figure out like 1 good reason, so I just used 2.
On why this works so well, I don't need you think you're in the.
Okay, so you guys know how I teach you the pitch codex, and it's like there's like 4 steps or 3 steps or whatever. The big thing with this, and I should probably redo that training, because what not to do is be like, well, the first reason is my XYZ black box, upside down system, right? What you want to do is you want to state terms that, like, they know what it is, but they don't know what it is in terms of the context of what you're saying it. So when I say volume, you know what volume means. But with me just telling you volume, you don't understand how this is pertaining to the offer. Does that make sense? So if you say, like, the, ABC upside down system, people they immediately think like bullshit, especially my market, because my market's like you guys. Like, you're like 7-figure, 8-figure business owners. You've seen a bunch of marketing. You're in the marketing industry. You are marketers. Like, I'm not going to like bullshit you. So the first reason is volume. And then what I'm going to do here is it's similar to what we did with the big promise. But again, I'm going to burn the bridges of hell to heaven, and I'm going to really solidify like why we are the person. Okay.
Peter, we have a smart there. Now, from that, we'll find our interviews, and a very small percent actually hired clients. So, very the numbers and a lot of me. I'll tell you after their half time to go on to these suburbs, about hundreds of dollars on the dinner off the invitation. I know he said we all have on board you and it's the
Okay, so basically that was it. So I'm basically explaining why it's better to work with us opposed to doing it yourself, opposed to trying to hire somebody else. Like, we do have, I don't know any other, freaking recruiting company in this industry at all that has like 2,000 to 3,000, 3,500 applications a month of people between referrals, ads, Indeed, all this stuff that come into our ecosystem. Because that really is the key, is like, we just have a massive volume, So again, I'm explaining here why, if they listen to this, they're like, okay, well, I'm not going to get 3,000 people, you know? So it's pretty easy when it's a done-for-you service. Okay, so see, ramp time. Again, ramp time. So it's not like this bullshittery or whatever term. You know, it's like ramp time. Boom.
And it's basically with about 50 people in the call. Now, if you're already building an egg, that's 5 feet to $1 million worth of business. You're saying not only make sure in somebody that there's a high limit that they come and share it won't about. At the same time, we got them the same characteristically and random process. My building matter. We're in stun on Salesforce. We're going to do that process if you found statistic it doesn't mean they reduce the man time to happens after that. As far as the long flyer nutrition, we didn't see seasons.
Okay, cool. So that was the second one. Same thing. So like it's kind of similar to what I'm doing in the top level promise, but I'm kind of just delving into our USP. So few frameworks here. Again, I did 2. If you could do a single biggest reason why, that's huge. Another way, and this is the way I would always think about your steps to success or like your mechanism and your pitch codex, it's all the same, is you want it to be the simultaneous explanation of why everything they tried in the past has failed and why this is going to be different, okay? So simultaneous explanation of why everything that they tried in the past has failed and why this is going to be different. So this is key. By the nature of hearing your offer and your pitch, they understand why they have failed, okay? So like think about hardcore like health direct response to where they're selling some sort of like pill that, you know, blocks something that was actually making you overweight, but now that it's unblocked, like you're fine and your hormones are good. You know, it's by the nature of reading the sales copy, you figure out why you were stuck. Does that make sense? So that is huge. And I'm telling you guys, like, so when I sold for Traffic and Funnels, this was during a time where it was everybody was like obsessed with Facebook ads. Like people were running auto webinars to the 2K courses, teaching Facebook ads. Everybody was obsessed with it. And so people weren't getting results though. And so and I just organically started doing this on the sales pitch. And this is like where I learned this, just taking thousands of calls, is I realized if I could convince them that the real reason they're stuck wasn't the ads, it was actually the offer. And that because of the economics and the positioning of the offer, they weren't set up to success in the first place. If I could convince them that and give them that insight, they would be like, oh, this is why I'm stuck. And now I have leadership and they're going to buy. Okay. That was that big belief. Now, if you're thinking, well, okay, well, I sell coaches, I'm just going to tell them it's the offer. Like that's pretty played out now. So I wouldn't do that. But in 2018, like, I mean, it was every single person. It's like, let's figure out how to do it better, high ticket offer. I mean, people were selling like membership courses. So that's a great example. So a good framework for this, and this is something you're going to see this tomorrow as well. I do this like constantly, and I also do this on the sales calls. And I don't read this, like this is a framework. So if you copy and paste what you want to say into this, it could work, but the better thing to do is just kind of understand what I'm trying to do here and just sort of talk in a way that's normal that checks these boxes, okay? So a good framework for hitting this is basically most people out there, they're trying to do this thing, right? This thing's the problem. So most people out there, they're trying to do this behavior. And here's the problem with the behavior, which ultimately means consequence, okay? So that framework is called problem, reason why, cost. I use it like, you'll see it in Facebook posts, you'll see it in emails. We use it like constantly. Here's the problem. Here's the reason why the problem is a problem. And ultimately, if it's left unfixed, what that means. Now, you could say that verbatim, but in most cases, you kind of just check those boxes of problem, reason why, cost by talking normally to the prospect. Okay? So this works in sales calls, your pitch, ads. I do this constantly. Okay? So instead, what we do is your specific methodology, which allows you to get benefit, which ultimately means the benefit of that benefit. Okay? That's what I was talking about earlier when I was telling you guys about Paris. Grasping the benefit. So it's not enough to explain the benefit of the method. You want to explain the benefit of that benefit. Does that make sense? So this is like, I mean, this is just in reverse. This is grasping the problem. Okay? This is grasping the benefit. So like what I was saying with the example with ads is, you're trying to fix your business through Facebook ads. And the reason why that's a problem is because you're basically building your house on a foundation of sand, right? Because you don't have the right economics and the right fulfillment structure for your offer, you're not going to be able to scale, which ultimately means you might get to 20K a month, but at the end of the day, you know, you have no profit to invest in building team, you're working 80 hours a week, and you built yourself a job and not a business. Does that make sense? Yeah. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to revamp your offer, get it better economics, get a better fulfillment structure, get a unique, different, superior. So instead of shouting from the crowd, you're actually positioned differently in the market, which is not only going to allow you to charge higher prices, but at the same time is going to allow your marketing to actually click because it's new and different, which ultimately means now the same webinar funnel you're already trying to run, that's going to work, doing the same exact thing, just changing the messaging in the offer. Does that make sense? So like, I mean, that's literally what I used to say on these TF sales calls like all the time. And so that's a great example of this framework, but I do this, like you'll see it tomorrow in tomorrow's VSL, I do it. And usually, you know, it's not like I say it again verbatim, but I'm always thinking problem, reason, my cost, feature, benefit, benefit of the benefit.